So today we're here with Elenore Sturko, and she's running for the MLA in Surrey, Cloverdale. So this is a slight change from your last riding, but you'll still have some constituents that will be in your group, right?
That's right.
Excited to have you here. I mean, you represent some different ideologies that say most conservatives would be, and we're here to build bridges, have people feel comfortable. For your riding, what would you say is maybe the number one or number two or number three issues that you're there to help solve the problems with, and maybe some of the solutions?
I think overall, both in Surrey, Cloverdale, Surrey South, where I'm currently the MLA, but pretty much every community in British Columbia, every riding, affordability, healthcare, and livability of British Columbia are top concerns. So affordability is obvious right now. Many families are less than $200 away from not being able to make ends meet. 38 new or increased taxes from the NDP. The rising cost of living here has a third of British Columbians seeking to leave our province. And at a time when we actually need people to be here to fill a starving employment economy, and also to help build this economy to help pay for the other big concern, which is healthcare. Of course, we have still 1 in 5 British Columbians without a family doctor. I just got off the phone with a close friend who found out she has a very severe form of skin cancer. She got diagnosed in December and still has not received her first surgery or treatment for that cancer. And this is the reality of British Columbia. It's not the obscure that can't, access healthcare. This is everyday people. And what I mean by livability is your community safe? Do you feel like you can get around and that this is a place that you feel welcome and that you feel like you can walk the streets? And for many British Columbians today, whether it's a result of rising crime, violent repeat offenders, or as a result of rampant open drug use, many British Columbians don't feel they're safe in their communities. In fact, in our community of Surrey, we had a young woman, only 30 years old, murdered this month by a violent repeat offender, a stranger who came into her home and killed her. So, these are a major concern for all of us. And, I'll do everything in my power to make sure that we improve those things, which is why I joined the BC Conservatives.
I was a little shocked to hear. I know that we've got something like 70 habitual criminals in Vancouver that were arrested 159 times last year. They're still walking the streets. So I was shocked to hear that most people that get charged never go to court because we're lacking, judges or something?
So there's a couple of problems and what is contributing to the catch and release. One of them is actually a federal issue with bail reform. And, you'll hear David Eby come out in the NDP and say, look, we went to Ottawa and we asked for bail reform. But the reality is what they asked for and what was given has not met the needs of British Columbians. It has not made British Columbians feel safer. We saw the results, unfortunately, and very tragically this month in Surrey with the death of a young woman. But the other thing is that David Eby loves to blame Ottawa. The reality is that the administration of justice in British Columbia is David Eby's responsibility. It's David Eby's responsibility to make sure we have enough sheriffs to keep courtrooms open, which we've actually had multiple courtrooms closing across the Lower Mainland, especially because of a lack of sheriffs. We need to have Crown prosecutors and enough of them so that they're not overwhelmed with cases, so that they actually have the time to invest in their file work so that they can make the strongest arguments possible. And the truth of the matter is we also do need more judges, and we need to have more courtrooms open. This shouldn't be a justice system by triage, where we just, take our best guess and don't follow through on prosecutions because we don't have the space. And I think, sadly, many people feel that our justice system is broken, that it's failing, and a Conservative BC government will definitely fix that.
Those sound like that's very, very key issues is safety, people's safety. And you sound very passionate in there to having solutions. And you've identified 2 or 3 of the areas where we're lacking, and the budgeting hasn't been there. And yet the NDP government has, almost 50% increase in expenditures in the last 8 years or something. Their overhead is through the roof.
The reality of this BC NDP government under this premier is that they have, over the last 7.5 years, doubled the provincial debt. And then they right now have the largest inflationary deficit that our province has ever seen. It's almost $8 billion. In fact, one of the craziest things about the debt that we have going on right now is if we were looking at just paying the interest alone for 2024, it would represent the fourth largest ministry in this government because it's itself, just the interest is about $4 billion. And so, you think about what we could do with that money, and it all comes down to proper fiscal management and taking care of British Columbians in a way that actually delivers the services that they need.
When David Eby said the $8 billion projected deficit, he put a caveat in there that it could be $20 billion if the revenues don't come in. As a senior, I remember the days 30 years ago where we only had a $28 billion debt for the entire 100 years of this province. And he's just about doubling it in a year.
Well, while delivering the worst results that we've seen in a generation. And there's no doubt that there will need to be investments in some key areas. But one of those areas that we really need to invest in is actually supporting our business sector by cutting taxes and bringing investment back to British Columbia and not being embarrassed or afraid to support the resource sector. Because we need to generate money not just by picking the pockets of British Columbians for ever rising taxes, but actually generating an income that can provide us with the healthcare and other services we need here in BC.
Actually, I'm going to ask you a skill testing question. There's got to be a formula to say if you double the public service, that it makes the delays in getting things done by 10. What do you think of that analysis?
Well, you would think that if you had doubled public servants by 30 or 50%, that you would see results improving by that same number. And in fact, we haven't seen that. What we've seen is the ever increasing debt, the frustration of the public, and people are really hungry for change.
Well, more bureaucracy does not necessarily equal results. It can often do the reverse.
I think you're right.